Welcome everyone, we're going to get started. Great to see you all here today. So welcome to the Internships Work Conference. This is the first of a series of sessions we're running today. We've got a session on the pilot and a session for parents and carers later this evening. My name is Kieran Watt. I'm the Programme Manager for Internships Work and will be your host for today. We're going to start off with a poll. The poll is asking, what are your hopes and aspirations for supported internships? There will be a link in the chat, and also you can scan the code on the screen and it should take you to where you can enter your answer to the question. It could be a word or a short sentence, but we'll give you a moment to do that. The link is now in the chat. It's got a few bits in there already. Growing, realistic opportunities, employment, sustainable, growing, continuation. That's great. If you've just joined, we're running a poll. You can scan the code there and the link is in the chat. We will leave this open during the session so you can keep adding to it, and we will see what it looks like at the end and share this after. Okay, so for today's session, welcome and overviews happening now. We are then going to hear from the Department for Education. We are then going to hear about young people's work and someone's supported internship journey. We're also going to have an employer spotlight, looking at creating inclusive workplaces. We also are going to have employer engagement and what we've learned from the employer ambassadors. And there's going to be a quality spotlight focused on the SIQAF, which is the Supported Internships Quality Assessment Framework and job coach training. We will then take a short break. There'll then be a short film, which features 3 young people who are on supported internships. We'll then be looking at Beyond the Numbers, redefining supported internship success through social exclusion. There will then be another video focusing on young people from the Northwest and looking at the power of supported internships. We'll then be hearing from Bill, who is the chair of the Internships Work Board, and then we will close the session. So we hope that you'll find that agenda interesting and some great speakers you'll be hearing from as well today. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So all the mics have been disabled unless you were speaking. You can use the chat to add any comments. Any resources and links and slides from the session will be shared afterwards, as will a recording of the event as well. That'll be up on our website. As I mentioned, there's one break already, but if you need a break during the session, please just take a couple of minutes, turn your camera off and take the time that you need. You can use the live captions function. So at the top of your screen, where there's the 3 dots and more underneath, if you click on that and then scroll down to language and speech, you can turn on live captions there. We have got captions for the videos, but in terms of speakers, if you follow those steps, you'll be able to have live captions on your screen. What is a supported internship? So a supported internship is a structured work-based study program for 16 to 25-year-olds with an education, health and care plan. Interns are in full-time education, but spend most of their time in the workplace. It's a partnership between local authority, a training provider, usually a college, an employer and a job coach. What is Internships Work? So Internships Work was funded by the Department for Education. It began in September 2022 and has been extended until March 2026. There's also been a pilot for supporting internships for young people without education, health and care plans that's been running. The program has been delivered by NDTi, who have been supporting local authorities, the program management side of it and communications, also DFM Project Search, who have been working on engaging and supporting employers to offer high quality work placements, and BASE, the British Association for Supported Employment, who've been working on establishing a sustainable process to improve the quality of supported internship provision and job coach training. And just to say, the program is coming towards an end. So for me, just a chance to say a big thank you to the consortium partners, the local authority and activity leads, the providers, also to the regional leads at NDTi who've been focusing on supporting the local authorities, and a big thank you to the internal team, Rabab and Lucy, who've done a great deal of work to make the project a success. So that leads us nicely onto a few of the highlights from this year. So we've recently run a survey from local authorities. We've still got a few reports outstanding, but some of the key figures from that. So 5,100 young people across England are on a supported internship this year. 573 of those young people are without EACP and are on the pilot programme. 1,641 young people secured paid employment following a supported internship last year, and 114 of them were young people without an EACP, again, a part of the pilot. 5,993 young people are predicted to be supported internships next year, and 501 of them are young people without education, health and care plan. There are also 143 send employment forums running currently, bringing together local stakeholders. And it's just amazing, to see these numbers. They were doubled last year and continuing to grow with all the hard work from yourselves here today. Okay, we're going to move over now to our first speaker. I'm going to hand over to Callum from the Department for Education.
Cheers, Kieran, and yeah, thanks for organising this session today. Big thank you for the team at Internships Works for getting this established. I'm really pleased to see those kind of numbers that Kieran just showed us, and we'll be sort of diving into those in our sort of weekly calls a little bit later. And yeah, love the question at the poll at the start. It'd be great to see that feedback coming through. It already looked very positive too. So yeah, I'm Callum. I work with Rachel and Rebecca. We're the sort of supported internship team at the Department for Education. Rebecca is our supported intern, and we're very excited to see that film a little bit later in the session. Can I have the next slide, please, Lucy? Cool. National context. So it's been a very busy period for us in the Department for Education. You may have seen the Post-16 Education Skills white paper that was published in October last year, with new V-levels vocational option at level 3 available, specialist support to those at risk of NEET through the Youth Guarantee, and improved careers advice of at least 2 weeks of work experience during secondary education. All of those sort of aspects of the skills white paper are really looking at improving that period and that preparation for adulthood for young people. Published yesterday as well was the schools white paper, which I'm sure you all have been aware of and seen, and are kind of going over those announcements within that publication. So we've seen inclusive mainstream fund of sort of up to 1.6 billion, national training of early years school and post-16 staff worth around 200 million, and support for local areas to deliver the new system of around 200 million as well. This funding will strengthen LA strategic planning, commissioning, leadership and capacity and engagement with the education sector. So paper published yesterday, and we'll sort of be working strategically over a number of years to kind of deliver those objectives in the paper. So do have a read if you haven't done so already. That's all been sort of published and is up online as well. But next slide, please, Lucy. Brill, but really what we're here to talk about today is the importance of supported internships. We've really recognised the value of supported internships in ensuring that our young people are really prepared to move into adulthood and the world of work. The department has invested around 33 million since 2022, initially with the aim of doubling the number of supported internships by 2025 and improving that quality, which we've reached, and then we've had a further extension for this year. This investment has provided substantial grant payments to LAs to establish those send employment forums. It's great to see most of those local authorities with those send employment forums in place and sustainable, delivery of those job coaches to support interns whilst they're on their placement. We know how important that job coach is in supporting the young person, but also the employer too, to navigate any challenges and really provide those assurances. And we've also created that employer ambassador network who advocate for SIs from business to business, and can really drum up support of the use of supported internships in their sort of business areas. As Kieran mentioned, we've also developed and launched the supported internship quality assurance framework and created a new peer-to-peer review process, and really assessing that quality so we can ensure that young people on supported internships are receiving the best possible provision, and so that providers know how to self-assess their own provision and look for improvements, which is really key. As Kieran mentioned, we launched the supported internship pilot for young people without education and healthcare plans, but still with learning difficulties and disabilities. We've seen a really good appetite and dedication from the LAs where we are testing that model. And this year we've now rolled that pilot out in 16 local authorities, having begun with 12 local authorities. With that expansion, we are now testing the pilot in all regions across England with a mix of urban and rural settings. This ensures we are capturing feedback on obstacles in local areas and can bring that into any sort of policy thinking. Additionally, in the school's white paper, that explains that we intend to continue the pilot for at least a further year, and we'll work with those local authorities to work with them on that. And this is a really important policy for helping us to understand if this model is an appropriate pathway for young people. And we do have an evaluation on the pilot, which should be published sometime in 2020 session as well. So Lucy, next slide, please. So what next? As Kieran mentioned, we are coming to the end of our support with Internships Work, but we do have a few milestones left to reach. So we've got National Supported Internship Day scheduled for the 27th of March. Cooper Gibson's research evaluation will be published soon. So this is evaluating sort of years 1 to 3 of our initial investment, and we're really excited to see the findings from that. It's a bit of a call to arms to any sort of providers, local authorities on the call to maximise those remaining Internships Works funded activities. So if you're thinking about that SIQAF peer-to-peer review, there is still the ability to tap into that as well. I believe our job coaching list is all booked up, but there may be a waiting list that you can look out for. So do look at that. And then within the department, it's a case of prioritising what we can continue doing as well. So Lucy, next slide, please. Brill. So I think that's it really from me. Thank you for listening. I'm really excited to hear from the rest of the speakers today, particularly Kieran and Kyle, who are kind of sharing their first-hand experiences of sort of delivering SIs and the SI program. I've got my email there, so you can reach out to me if you've got any additional questions. And yeah, big thank you to the team at Internships Works for kind of helping us make this all happen. So back to you, Kieran.
Thank you, Callum. And I think great to hear you mention around the pilot potentially extending, which is great news. So thanks, Lucy. So next up, we've got Kieran Jones, who's a program support officer. We'll be talking about his support internship journey. So I'll hand over to you now, Kieran.
Hi everyone, so next slide please, Lucy. So I'm Kieran Jones. I did my supported internship in 2021. I have since been on an apprenticeship and am now in full-time employment with the West Midlands Association of Directors of Adult Social Services. Next slide please, Lucy. So primary school all went well. So I did well behaviour-wise and education-wise, just the same as any other student in the class, really. I was hitting the goals and stuff that was expected of me. I got my autism diagnosis when I was in year 6, so I would be 11 years old. And I did very well in my SATs results at the end of year 6, which put me into a higher group in secondary school. So moving on to secondary school, this is probably, I would describe it as the worst part of my life with secondary school. So I got bullied by other students in my class, and the teachers weren't as supportive as we would expect them to be. I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression as a result of this, and had some really scary parts in my life where I would go missing for 6 hours, or I was hanging around with people who weren't bringing out the best in me and leading me down a path that I really didn't want to continue going down after school. I didn't get the grades I wanted. I got 1 GCSE in maths, the rest of them I failed. I think with more support I could have done better, but the thing with after this was, what am I going to do next? Is it going to be the same experience in college? So secondary school taught me how damaging a lack of support can be to a student. Next slide, please, Lucy. So college life, which I studied at North Shropshire College in Oswestry in 2017 to 2018. I felt a bit demoralised going into the course and demotivated and a bit scared of what was going to come in the following year, and would it be the same experience that I've had in secondary school. So I was worried I'd fail my course, as I had had years of disbelief in secondary school with subjects like science and things like that. But the worst bit about that was I wanted to do business studies in college, and that was one of the subjects that I failed in secondary school. So the college were very good. I got the support that I needed and that I had the funding for, which the school did take the funding but didn't give me the support. So the college definitely supported me more than what it was in school. So I spent my first night away from home without my parents when I was in college. We went on a trip to London. That was a big step for me because I never spent a weekend or days away from my own bed, really. I'd stayed at home, and if I'd gone on holiday, I'd have gone with my parents. I got a pass in my business studies course at the end of that college year, but I still had mental health problems, and after I finished college, I still didn't know what I was going to do next. Next slide, please, Lucy. So I had a 2-year gap year between 2018 and 2020. So I had a bad summer where I ended up in a mental health rehab for young people in Stoke due to self-harming and other different reasons. And but I still had the ambition. I was going to go back to college and complete my level 3 business studies course. So I tried to go back 2018, 2019 and 2019, 2020, but ended up dropping out of the course twice just because of still not feeling great and not being able to socialize and mix with the people in my class. So this is where I had between probably about 2 months each academic year, going back for 2 months and dropping out. The rest of the 2 years, I had a gap year where I was sitting at home. I wasn't really leaving the house, and I was playing video games most of the day. So I thought this was going to be my life, that I would never leave the house again properly, or I'd never get a full-time job or be able to work. So my parents didn't think I was going to work either. Not that I didn't have the capability to, but they just saw that I'd had a 2-year gap year and didn't see the path forward, and nobody knew what the next steps were going to be for me. So luckily, this is when Mum got in touch with Early Help, and they suggested I go to county training instead of college. Next slide, please, Lucy. So county training, I went there first, which is where I first met an employability officer from Enable in Shropshire. So Enable is a supported employment service in Shropshire and in other places in the country. So I took part in the supported internship as part of my county training course, where I went to the Affordable Housing and Planning Policy Department at Shropshire Council as an admin assistant supported intern. So this was probably, even though I didn't know it at this stage, the support internship was probably the best decision of my life, and I probably wouldn't be in the role that I was in now had I not got support off Enable and county training to go on a supported internship. So I passed my employability skills and functional skills English courses of county training. English for me isn't the best. So because of my autism, I don't always see where to put a full stop or where to put a comma. So that was a really big achievement that I actually passed the functional skills in that. While I was at county training, I also won Student of the Year and got a certificate, which you can see in the bottom right corner of the slide. And in the top right corner, there's me holding the trophy that I got for being the Student of the Year. I didn't realise it then because I didn't know what I was going to do after the support internship, but this was probably the best and brightest year of my life. So county training taught me that the right people can change everything, but the support internship taught me that I was capable of more than I ever believed. Next slide, please, Lucy. So what did I gain from the supported internship? So I gained skills that will stay with me for the rest of my life and career, including data entry, time management, organizational skills, and data analysis. So these are skills that I learned on my support internship and I'm still using in my everyday role today. So I realized that a support internship was a year-long job interview with the opportunity to prove my worth and value to not only my team, but to my line manager who had given me the opportunity to come and do this support internship in his team. So I picked up knowledge of working life and planning policy and affordable housing teams and what they do. So probably the thing that I learned the most was, obviously I said before, I wasn't leaving the house, I wasn't speaking to people much, so that was hard, but it gave my confidence and people skills a massive growth, including making friendships for life in the team that I did this support internship in, the planning policy and affordable housing team, which shows that I left that team 2 years ago, but I'm still always invited to the Christmas party, so that's always nice. And it gave me self-belief in a career in business administration, and a level 3 apprenticeship grew from the support internship. So I didn't know what I was going to do at a support internship, but the manager suggested I could go on a apprenticeship with them and do my level 3 business studies, which I didn't manage to achieve in college. So I knew from this experience of the support internship that I was doing a job I loved and that my future was in business administration. Next slide, please, Lucy. So skills for my support internship were data entry, data analysis, formatting information, attending meetings, using different business skills, and working independently. So I've worked from home for as long as I can remember. So I've never had a job where we go into the office every day. It's always been from home. And these are the skills that I've learned that I don't need shadowing anymore because of learning these skills early on. I can work independently. And if someone gives me a skill, a task of data analysis, I can just get on and analyze the data for the team. Next slide, please, Lucy. So my apprenticeship was 2022, so February 2022 to December 2023. So after my supported internship, I fell in love with business administration. I knew this is what I wanted to pursue a career in, and I knew that as long as I was in business administration, I'd be enjoying what I was doing for the rest of my career. So to boost my knowledge, to get me into higher up roles and to get me to be the best version of myself that I can be as a business admin assistant. I went on a level 3 apprenticeship in business administration with the planning policy and affordable housing team, so the ones I did the support internship with, and I got the A-level qualification that I hadn't got before at college. So I passed my GCSE English after 3 attempts by attending night classes at the college that I did my business studies in, which I got a grade 5. So that's a class as a pass in the new GCSE modelling system. I passed my apprenticeship with a triple distinction, and I got nominated by someone from Enable, Charlotte Kelly, who I've worked very closely with over the years, nominated me for apprenticeship awards in 2024 with quotes from my line manager and other people who I had worked alongside. So I went to the awards ceremony afterwards, towards the end of the year in October 2024. And as you can see in the picture at the right, I won 2 awards. So I won the Business Legal and Finance Apprentice of the Year, and then I won the Apprentice of the Year for overall Shropshire. So passing the apprenticeship and getting the awards are the proudest moments of my life so far, and they've given me confidence to go and continue building my career from strength to strength as I'm going on. Next slide, please, Lucy. So I've been an expert by experience with Enable 2022 to present. So this is a version of me giving something back. So Enable helped me. The least I could do is help them, to help people who are like me in what my career is like and what I did the support internship. I can help get other people to succeed and hopefully lead people on the path that I went on while working with the NDTi and Enable on the internship grant project. So I've been an expert by experience for Enable since 2022 in April. So I've worked on the supported internship grant project since 2022, and the supported internship grant project has grown me as a person. So I was very quiet, low in confidence, but with help from Enable and the NDTi inviting me to different conferences, I've learned that it's given me growth as a person to be able to come and speak at regional and national conferences. And I've also been to London in 2025 to the first ever Send Youth Parliament, which I did get to answer a few questions while I was down there. So I've been a part of a Shropshire SI Employment Forum, which I can see a few people on this call are in that forum. So I've been working hard with them to try and grow support internships in Shropshire, as that's my local authority area. And I have sat on interview panels to help advise with the appointment in roles in the support internship world and for Enable. Next slide, please, Lucy. So the Programme Management Office 2024 to 2025, this was one of my best years of my life. So I really grew in the Programme Management Office where I did projects and project management. So this is where I felt I grew the most. So I made the hard decision to leave the Affordable Housing and Planning Policy Department to join the Programme Management Office, which was probably the hardest decision I've had to make because I loved what I did in planning, but I could only get offered a 3-day-a-week contract with affordable housing and planning policy, whereas with the Programme Management Office, although it was fixed term, I felt I was achieving more and growing because I was now working a 5-day week full time. So I felt that was a big achievement to go from 3 days to 5 days. So as said, I did this for my own personal growth, knowing the Programme Management Office would help grow me as a person, but also grow my career further. But most importantly, as I said, give me a chance to work 5 days a week. So I learned so much and got to assist in managing projects in adults and children's social care and all over the local authority. I got to work with some of the directors in the local authority, which was an experience of working with people who are in quite an authoritative position. So that gave me confidence that although their job title sounds mighty, they are just people at the end of the day, and they work with you just the same as anyone else would. So unfortunately, it was only a 1-year fixed term contract and didn't give me the stability that I wanted to stay in a 5-day week job. So I had to move on because I wanted to stay in a 5-day week, but they were only extending my fixed term contract by 6 months. So I thought without the stability, this is the time to look and try and use this as a stepping stone to get experiences, but it's time to spread my wings and move on to something more stable. So next slide, please, Lucy. So I now work for the West Midlands Association of Directors for Adult Social Services since June last year. So some of you might recognise the organisation, or some of you might know it as West Midlands ADASS as an acronym. So I had to make the hard decision to leave the Programme Management Office. When I joined the Programme Management Office of Shropshire Council, it was meant to be a 2-3 year role that I was hoping, and I was hoping I might have got a permanent contract after my first year. But I had learned so much and grown so much that this enabled me to get this role of what I had learned in the Programme Management Office. So another reason that I wanted to go was I needed a permanent contract to complete my level 4 apprenticeship, which I'm still hoping to do sometime this year to start it. And I couldn't do it with a fixed term contract in a Programme Management Office. And the role that I'm in now is a permanent contract, so I have a bit of stability on that. So the West Midlands Association of Directors for Adult Social Services was my opportunity to complete my level 4 apprenticeship, and it offered me a permanent contract. I've enjoyed my time here so much so far that I've grown my skills further and my career further and me as a person, and I plan to be here as long as I possibly can be to keep working my way up to higher positions in the team and to keep, hopefully, my end goal is to do a level 7 apprenticeship eventually with them. So I'm still using my skills for my apprenticeship and support internship, including project management, data analysis, data entry, organisational skills, time management, minute taking, and agenda writing. I still took the confidence, self-belief and knowledge I learned from the SI with me. So West Midlands ADASS is teaching me how to turn my lived experience into leadership and make a positive difference. Next slide, please, Lucy. So my achievements, I've touched on them previously, so I won't stay on this slide too long. But I've won Student of the Year at County Training at college. I've won 2 apprenticeship awards and gotten distinction in my apprenticeship. Next slide, please, Lucy. So my aspirations for the future, so the next 2 years, is to complete a level 4 apprenticeship in business administration, to continue to work with the NDTi and as an associate or an expert by experience, to continue to make a difference for young people and adult social care users, to get a promotion in my role and become the business admin manager, and to continue to advocate for young people in Shropshire and the UK. Then long term, so 10 to 15 years, I want to continue to work my way up in West Midlands ADASS and maybe even National Association of Directors for Adult Social Services. So this is the National ADASS, so the one above West Midlands ADASS. So I can make a difference to people with the same background as me and people who have had the same struggles and barriers that I have had in the past. And I am hoping to complete a level 7 apprenticeship in business administration and management. Next slide, please, Lucy. So my aspirations for young people, young people's future is an inclusive place for all, no matter their background. More marketing and promotion of young people's career options from Key Stage 3 to college years. A better education system that helps young people, not fails them. Better use of tools and resources to help people find their dream job. More advice for young people on different education routes, e.g. support internships and apprenticeships, and more opportunities for young people to get a taster in different routes and careers, and I suppose roles until they find the right one, and the right role and route into employment that suits them. So DFM project search in more organisations such as Shropshire Council, and I suppose it's like more employment routes, which I found out the hard way of going through school and college that classroom-based learning wasn't for me, and I should be doing on-the-job learning more than sitting in the classroom. Next slide, please, Lucy. So words of wisdom and knowledge is supported internships are definitely worthwhile. That is what got me where I am today, and I'd highly recommend them. Never give up whenever life feels bad. Keep trying, keep persevering with education and work, and it will reward you with something you really want to do. There is nothing to be ashamed of in needing a break. Finally, a wise man said to me, someone who worked in a school, had a sports car, and I really admired it. So I wanted a sports car when I was older, and he told me, if you work hard, you'll get what you want in life. And this is something that'll stay with me for the rest of my life. If I want something, I'm going to go out to work and earn it. And I think for knowledge for local authorities is belief and opportunity can change your life. When young people are supported properly, they thrive. The support internship gave me the chance to rewrite my future, and it could give other people a chance to rewrite the future. When you're down at rock bottom, there is a way of building your way back up and having a good career and really seeing the best side of life and enjoying your life to the fullest. And I think for young people who have been through the system with lived experience, is your voice can change your life for good, but bullying can really ruin a life for years. So if you're using your voice to speak up and change, it's good. But if someone's bullying you in school, that can still have a mental effect on you 5 to 6 years down the line. Next slide, please, Lucy. Yeah, that's it. So thank you for listening, and any questions, I'll pop my email into the chat.
Thank you for sharing the story, Kieran. I think if he wasn't online, you'd be hearing a massive round of applause now. You've got the virtual round of applause going off on the screen right now. And yeah, thank you for sharing such an inspiring story and what sport internships can do. And glad to hear your future plans. I think you'll achieve them with no doubt that you will do that, and a lot more as well. Thank you again for sharing your story. So next up, we have Carl Evans, the store manager for Schuh, who's been talking about the work they've been doing in Liverpool.
Hello, everyone. My name's Kyle. Thanks very much, Kieran. And also, yeah, Kieran, I think you've seen in the chat board a great inspirational journey there from yourself. So thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm here today. I'm store manager of our Liverpool Shopping Park store. I'm by no means here to give the blueprints on how to do internships. Suppose I'm just sharing our journey. Although it's been just a little bit over a year, I thought we'll give you a little bit of an insight to maybe how we've approached supported internships in store. So next slide, please, Lucy. And so just a little bit of an overview. So like intern to work and Schuh. So we'll go through an overview of the journey, our experience, what's changed, and the value for businesses and why you should get on board with supported internships. Next slide, please, Lucy. And these are just some of our young people that have came through with us in the past year. Do you know what? They are not the same people on these pictures. This would have been their first day when they would have started with us. In that top right-hand corner in the bottom left, we actually took on 4 new interns on the anniversary of our store being open for a year, which was nice. We shared some cake. It was a great experience to kind of go. We were going up against last year's figures as a business, and it was just nice to have some interns start on a day which meant so much to us as a store. And 3 out of the 4 that started went into permanent paid employment as well, which is fantastic to kind of start. And just a bit of credit there, we've got Booming, we've got Steve, who have been our job coaches throughout the time within Liverpool Shopping Park. So it's been great to have their support as well. Next slide, please, Lucy. So a little bit of an overview. We found out about supported internships through the council approaching us and inquiring about an initial conversation around how Steve, who's the store manager at Liverpool One, and myself could get involved through the support of our regional manager at the time, who was called Gemma. And then during these conversations, we openly explored the realities of the working world, particularly in relation to individuals with disabilities, including those within our own families. So we recognise that assumptions are often made in retail and day-to-day environments that unintentionally create barriers. Commonly used phrases amongst us at the time, including myself and Steve, a little bit of context was that me and Steve have disability within our family. My mum has MS and Steve has children with cerebral palsy. So we have stairs and we have ladders. Even we were thinking of our own families couldn't even get a job in retail. That's how we perceived it at first. So what we believe that these immediately created an obstacle, or were perceived as an obstacle, by using phrases like this. Rather than focusing on these limitations, we considered what could be adapted in store. So initially, roles were defined strictly by standard job descriptions set by the business. However, we came to realise that roles could be reshaped to better suit the needs of the store, whilst also being accessible to individuals with additional needs. This shift in thinking occurred as we developed our understanding of physical disabilities and neurodiversity, informed by our own personal experiences at home. By embracing this approach, we were able to adapt roles appropriately, creating meaningful and sustainable opportunities for young people with additional needs through the Intern to Work programme. Next slide, please, Lucy. So the journey, we began our journey with the aim of developing a Welcome to Schuh training booklet that was specifically adapted to support neurodivergent individuals and provide them with the best possible start to their employment. That was kind of our starting point. We were expecting to launch Intern to Work with this booklet, but while our initial start goal was to have this ready for our first young person to start employment, this didn't go to plan based on the demand needed from multiple departments. At one time, the business needed to prioritise other projects. However, this didn't stop us. We decided to take the learning through the process and start the journey of employment. Through this development, we had successfully supported 10 paid young people entering the business over the past year. Had we waited for the Welcome to Schuh training booklet to be fully finished, we wouldn't be where we are today. So working closely with each individual has been valuable learning experience and has given us the confidence to recommend reasonable adjustments, create tailored training sessions, and educate our existing team on individual differences. This includes recognising that some individuals may require additional time to process information or benefit from clear step-by-step guidance when learning a new skill or task. Next slide, please, Lucy. So our experience, introducing supported internships into our standard recruitment process and make it an integral part of our in-store operations has brought significant value and employment and enjoyment into my role. My job has become far more than just selling shoes. I always use that phrase now. I feel like I have more purpose in my role through Internships to Work. So like many businesses, I previously found the recruitment period challenging, particularly the time and resource investment required to train new starts to a high standard, often without knowing whether they would remain in the role long term. This experience has completely changed my mind on recruitment. I now look forward to engaging with Intern to Work, discussing upcoming opportunities and welcoming candidates through open days. It's incredibly rewarding to see young people show curiosity, enthusiasm and initiative as they explore what their future could look like within Schuh. We do this through ring fencing roles. We know during retail, we come into back to school, which is an incredibly busy period for us, and Christmas. They are the two biggest periods for us, where we approach the council and we ring fence 2 roles for Internship to Work for people to come in on open days. So providing them with the opportunity to present their authentic selves without the pressure of formal interviews or the fear of saying the wrong thing allows us to truly understand them on a personal level. This approach removes unnecessary barriers and enables candidates to demonstrate their potential naturally. So through this experience, I've seen firsthand that these young people are committed, capable employees for life. Our interns have maintained 100% attendance even during the busiest retail periods, and their dedication, strong work ethic and eagerness to develop new skills has resulted in exceptional loyalty to both myself and the company. Next slide, please, Lucy. So what's changed? Supported internships have positively transformed my store by encouraging us to think differently about all aspects of our operations across the business. So through first-hand experience of employing young people and actively seeking feedback, we have recognised a growing demand for more tailored and inclusive shopping experiences. Rather than limiting adjustments to designated quiet hours or specific time slots for neurodivergent customers, we aim to create environments that are welcoming and accessible at all times within our store. So our training now focuses on empowering teams to confidently support neurodivergent customers by making simple but impactful adjustments. So these include turning off music, turning off screens where possible, providing visual attention aids for children during fittings, and ensuring the team are trained to recommend suitable footwear for splints where required. So while we acknowledge there's still progress to be made, we're committed to continuous improvement and learning. So as a business, we have now partnered with Ambitious About Autism and currently recruiting 2 new young people across additional stores. As part of the process, we're working closely with Ambitious About Autism team to develop neurodiverse friendly job descriptions. And in collaboration with Intern Work, we are demonstrating the capabilities of young neurodivergent individuals and using our knowledge and experience to support wider employment opportunities with this new partnership. And then next slide, I think that's it, Lucy. Oh, the value, sorry, yeah. So the value, I think we always talk about what interns may get from being part of the role, but I do just want to bring it back to what would your business get and kind of what the value is within it. So the value of our involvement and partnership with Liverpool City Council's Intern to Work programme comes in the output of young people's hard work and their day-to-day responsibilities. So during weeks 26 to 31, which is our back to school period in Schuh, we dispatched 3,784 internal customer orders, achieving the highest total in the business by over 1,000 units. This was a primary responsibility of our interns, and their strong focus and consistency directly contributed to this performance. So as a result, the store also delivered 3 record-breaking sales weeks during that period as well. So in addition, our store received 606 in-store customer feedback responses relating to service during the back to school weeks, once again ranking as the top performing store in the business. I strongly believe that participation in the Intern to Work programme has significantly enhanced the quality of customer service delivered by our existing sales advisors. Team members have adapted their skill sets to become more patient, flexible and understanding, taking additional time to support learning, adjusting communication styles and identify an alternative approach to meet individual needs. This has helped foster a more inclusive and supportive work culture within the store. Thank you. And then this is just some of the training that we've kind of put together. I thought it would be important to kind of include. I've came from a learning and development background within Schuh, and I've wanted to use my skill set to hopefully create more tailored training sessions, and it's been great to be part of that process as well. So doing customer orders was the primary role. And when we initially joined Intern to Work, there's a lot to do in retail is all I can say. So on the shop floor aspect of learning the service element, the upselling piece, to then go into the stockroom and to be fearful of not knowing the codes, we've decided to start our interns primarily learning the stockroom role first before gaining confidence in coming onto the shop floor. So this is just one example of like customer orders. Sorry, I think the format changes where with all of those ones, it is normally in steps of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not all that first step, but that was just the first slide we had. And then the next slide, please, Lucy. Hopefully some imagery there in the 1 to 6 steps of how to pair check before sending out customer orders. And then finally, the next slide, please, Lucy. Just like what to do if, and I know this may seem like such a simple slide, but reiterating that to someone, just ask for help. We're always here. I think there's a tendency for our young people to want to do things by themselves. And if you were to take a young person on and they make mistakes, which is natural when they first start, we've just taken on a new intern last week. They're trying to prove that they can do the role is all I can say. It's been great to kind of speak with them and tell them to slow down and to take the time to learn a new skill, and don't view it from that negative perspective of they are making mistakes. If you're to sit down with them, they're trying to prove that they can do this. They are ready for paid employment, and it's saying it's okay to slow down and to learn a skill. By absolutely no need do you have to rush that process. So yeah, just the reiterating of asking someone for help, and we are here as a supportive team. So yeah, next slide, Lucy. I think that's me. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and I'll share my email in the chat as well if anyone has any questions afterwards or wants to get in touch for a conversation. Well, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Kyle. Amazing to hear the work that's been happening in your store. Not just that young people have gone into paid roles, but the impact on the business and the changes that you've made in store based on your experience in terms of running supported internships. So thank you again for sharing.
Thank you very much.
So next up, we're going to hear from Alice Hargreaves, who's a training and employer engagement manager at DFN Project Search.
Hey everybody, I feel like both Kyle and Kieran's talks today were absolutely fantastic. I think it's always so important to get real life case studies from this sort of thing. So always lovely to hear about it. So I'm now going to talk a little bit around what we've been doing on employer engagement here at DFN Project Search. So next slide, please, Lucy. So first of all, just wanted to highlight the work we've done so far, and also what our actual goals were during the 4 years of internships work. So those goals were to train local authorities whilst they establish their send employment forums, to train employers to best support supported internships and wider supported employment, to connect those send employment forums with employers, and to create a sustainable future for supported internships through these connections. So the first thing I wanted to focus on is how local authorities and training providers can increase employer engagement. Next slide, please, Lucy. So promoting the benefits of supported internships to businesses. So, I mean, I think both Kieran and Kyle have very much covered some of the key things here and actually the impact it can have on a business. But just to summarise, they offer a positive progression route to employment for a group of talented people who are largely hidden to employers. Supports an organisation's diversity and inclusion practice because you will learn a great deal from your interns that will benefit everybody in the workplace. And it has a significant impact on business culture. It demonstrates a business's responsiveness to young people with SEND in your local community. You get the support of teachers and job coaches to teach the young people learning in your workplace and to support managers and mentors. And although there's no obligation to employ people, it gives both the intern and the employer the opportunity to see if this match is the right fit. And when it is a good fit, offering employment can be a huge advantage. It saves the employer so much time and resource on recruitment, and you know already that the individual will succeed. One of the key ways that we can kind of grow this is by using labour market insights. So this is data that shows what is happening in the job market. So what industries are growing, where there are skills shortages and recruitment needs, what skills employers need, and where job opportunities are located. Next slide. So this is just a short snapshot of some of the types of labour market insights. And actually what I've done is popped a QR code on the screen, and I'm also going to pop that same link, if it works, hopefully, in the chat. And this is actually a document from our Employer Ambassador Toolkit, which takes you through all the different ways you might source labour market insights. But just to give you a little bit of an overview, it might come from things like skills improvement plans, preparing for adulthood data. From a national point of view, it might come from NOMIS, which is part of the Office of National Statistics, DWP, or the Job Centre Plus. So a local job centre, for example, will have a list of all the disability confident employers in that region, as well as local networks, which I really think can't be kind of understated. So things like the Chamber of Commerce, any feedback, and just generally from people like Send Employment Forum members. So the next slide actually is an example that came up in a session that I ran earlier this year. So this was from some Send Employment Forum training. And the local Send lead was saying that actually their local NHS trust, which had previously offered supported internships, had a hiring freeze. So that meant that although the internship provision was still available, the employment outcomes internally would no longer be an option for interns. But meanwhile, they knew from sort of local labour market insights that actually warehousing was really substantially growing in the area. So they took sort of 3 key steps really. So they approached warehousing organisations and said, you know, we've got talented and dedicated young people who are seeking work. They started by running one programme in one warehouse to gain a case study. And now actually the outcome is that they currently have 3 different supported internships running across 3 different businesses, which have really high employment outcomes and employers who see the benefits of supported internships. So the knock-on effect of that is obviously that warehousing organisations are actually kind of thinking, you know what, this can be a really fantastic way of us getting really dedicated employees. So now there's a real rise in those employers actually looking for that work. Next slide, just to give you a little bit of something to just kind of think about whenever you're using this labour market insight in terms of what you might do and how you might kind of approach employers, but using really aspirational language, so thinking very much around the talented young people that you're supporting, thinking about potential and opportunity. Emphasize those mutual benefits. So for that warehousing example, they were organisations that were actually really struggling to get dedicated employees who were actually going to be there for the long term. So there was a huge mutual benefit there. Avoid any deficit-based language. Highlight those success stories. I think one huge thing that has come up time and time again is that, you know, when we talk about those success stories, when we talk about Kieran, when we talk about what Schuh have been achieving, it can be really fantastic. And mirror an employer's language. You know, if they're talking about their corporate social responsibility or diverse talent, mirror that in the work that you're doing. So this again, I'm going to just pop this in the chat if the QR code doesn't work for any reason. But this is around just really highlighting some of those examples. So you will obviously already see Schuh in this stories about supported internships, but it can be a really fantastic place to start looking. So what I've done from a DFM project search point of view is I've asked some of my colleagues for some success stories and some innovation and some fun ideas that have kind of come out from the work that we've been doing. So this example is from an NHS trust. So they realised that actually quite a lot of their recruitment practices were actually creating some barriers for supported internships. Things like minimum requirements for maths and English could quite often block quite a lot of their supported interns from going into employment. So they did a few things. One of the things they did is offer something called a role fit conversation for a role of at least 12 months in duration. The intern can use a bespoke link to register, or if they apply directly, they're taken out of that main pile and rerouted into that role fit conversation. They do not have to provide professional references and can receive references from relevant people. So that might be a college, job coach, placement manager, etc. The minimum requirements for maths and English have been taken away. And also this process really recognises that interns do not always have professional references, and that the trust will already have any relevant DBS checks in place, which can be a massive time save. And actually, when it comes to those minimum requirements for maths and English, actually they recognise that often they've proven that they can do the job during that supported internship. So they've created basically an entirely new recruitment process for these interns. The next example comes from a very different organisation. So this is a big corporate organisation that operates nationwide. And what they have is something called a social partner hub, which creates a more inclusive approach to hiring across the board. And this matches candidates to roles and internships using referrals from employability organisations. So what has been the impact of this social partner hub? Well, over the last 6 months, it's supported 100 people into work and also actually provided job search guidance for more than 1,000 people. Employers commit to a supportive recruitment pathway, ensuring that candidates receive tailored assistance, and on the flip side, and I always think this is vitally important, the hiring managers actually receive training. One outcome has enabled people to move into entry-level roles without necessarily requiring sector-specific experience. So again, it's around that sort of tweaking of job specs and recruitment processes. And this approach really focuses on reducing barriers, widening access to work, and supporting those long-term employment outcomes. And finally, just wanted to highlight a few very short and quick ways that actually we've seen vast improvements in outcomes for everyone when we think quite innovatively about how we can really support our interns. So one example was from a retailer that started using coloured labels for an intern that struggled with reading, but actually the knock-on effect is that that actually improved efficiency for all staff, because it's actually so much quicker to be looking out for a colour schemes. One organisation used puzzles to support an intern with socialising on break times. So they recognised that actually there were some challenges for that young person around the actual kind of socialising part in and around that role. So they thought actually one thing to kind of make something quite low key was to actually put puzzles in their break rooms. And actually other employees said it actually really kind of boosted their well-being as well. And those that sometimes found that sort of like water cooler sort of chat type thing quite hard actually found this a lot more inclusive. And then the final example is that interns pitched a retailer for a piece of equipment that would help them replenish shelves more effectively. And the store manager actually decided to get 4 times the equipment requested, as it would actually benefit existing employees too. Finally, I just wanted to highlight that there is still some free training available until the end of March. Again, I'll pop the link in the chat. So there are 2 different trainings available. Both are 90 minutes and they run online. The first is Send Employment Forum training. I would say this is most valuable for local councils and education providers. And it's going to go into a lot more detail around engaging employers and touching on some of those things that I've talked about a little bit earlier, but in a bit more detail. And then the employer ambassador training, this is really around employers who want to promote supported internships and broader supported employment, and how they can support local authorities to grow that provision. So even if, for example, you're coming from a training provider point of view, if there are any employers in your network that either you're directly working with or would like to work with in future, it might be a really good way of engaging them with supported internships moving forward. And then the other thing I really wanted to highlight is our toolkit, which is available on the NDTi one-stop shop. And this is basically going to be available pretty much forever, hopefully, and is a comprehensive set of practical templates and ready-to-use documents, including, for example, that guidance on labour market insights. It's got clear guidance to support employer ambassadors in SEND employment forums, and it's just a great way of supporting that sort of consistent professional engagement with employers. So again, I'm going to be popping that in the chat. But just as well to highlight, I think you should also be able to access these slides as well. So you'll be able to get those links as well after today, because I know that there's a lot going on in the chat. But thank you ever so much for listening, and I will pop my contact details as well in the chat if anybody needs to reach out.
Thank you, Alice. Really great to hear the insights from the workplaces. And yes, we will make sure those links are shared for the training. Would encourage anybody that feels it's the right fit for them to sign up for the training Alice has spoke about. Okay, next up, we are going to hear from Beth, who's a quality manager at BASE. We'll be talking about SIQAF and Job Coach. And I'll hand over to you now, Beth.
Thanks, Kieran. Hi, everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces and names. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about the quality focus. So yes, like Kieran said, I am the quality manager for BASE. I'm quite new in the role, but as some of you may know, supported internships have been kind of a big part of my career for a long time. Part of the delivery team, and then working with DFM Project Search as well, to implement supported internships as well. So I'm going to be talking today about SIQAF, which is our supported internship quality assurance framework, and job coach training. Next slide, please, Lucy. So the big aim for BASE as partnerships in the consortium is quality at the heart. It was a big takeaway from our conference, if anyone was there, and that the next bit, Lucy, I think there's another little box to pop up, sorry. I forgot I put it on transitions. So we had the SIQAF, that was a huge part of driving quality forward in supported internships. And the SIQAF is a free kind of sector-wide benchmarking tool. I will pop the links in there. I think I've already popped a link in there, but it may have got lost. This is a vehicle that any provider can just pick up and look at. They can use it to benchmark. You can use it for your action planning to make that continuous improvement, embedded within your supported internship delivery. And we also had, next bit, Lucy. We also had job coaching training, because we really recognise, we've talked about job coaches. Callum mentioned about a job coach. It's quite a complex role. I always think about, they've got so many hats as a job coach, from job seeker engagement to employer engagement to working with a circle of support to actually, like making really big changes in somewhere like the NHS and working with really senior people. So we have to kind of recognise that we need to develop this workforce and make sure that it's set up for success. Thanks, Lucy. Next slide. So the job coach training, it was split into two kind of specific areas. So we talk about supported employment techniques, and we also talk about training in systematic instruction. Next slide, Lucy. So the supported employment techniques are really, really good grounding for job coaches, supported employment practitioners, and those kind of core themes that we talk about are the core values of supported employment. Now, if that isn't part of what you're doing every day, if you don't know the core values, then we won't get quality at the end of it, essentially. You know, this is a really, really important backbone of what we do at BASE and what we do with supported employment. We need to understand these core values. You know, hearing from people like Kyle talk about the social model, removing those barriers, it makes my heart sing, because we just know that that's when we get it right, is if we have those core values right at the start. We know that job seeker engagement is really important. We don't cherry pick. We don't pick, oh, I think they're going to get a job, let's put them on. We don't do that. We kind of have that zero rejection policy again in our core values, and that job seeker engagement is really, really important to make sure we have that pipeline of people coming through as well. And we also look at a really, really important document of vocational profiling. We know that this is really important to get to know the person. And then we look at employer engagement. You know, Alice has talked all about it and all some of the skills that we use. There's a lot of skills that go with it, but it is quite a complex thing, and we find that that's an area people need some support with. And then we look at job matching as well. So it's not just about putting people in any career, it's about making the right job match as well. And then we delve into in-work support and career development. And, you know, Kieran, right at the start, the career development of him, you know, wow. So I think we're all a bit envious of that huge career development and that 10-year plan. Yeah, next slide, please, Lucy. And then another huge part of our training as well would be the wonderful groovy dude of Mark Gold, who does training in systematic instruction. And this is kind of one of those training where lots of learners will kind of have that light bulb moment of, oh, okay. And if you've done it, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's just really explains about the power balance. And if you watch some of these, like, you know, old videos, you know, you can see that people with quite significant learning disabilities are absolutely capable of work. They've got, you know, these massive skills that are just not being utilised. So try another way, and TSI training as well. Thanks, Lucy. So we have got a panel here from the wonderful West Nottinghamshire College, and we're just going to talk to Louise, Kevin and Amanda, who I think are spotlighted now, and they're just going to tell us some of the reflections, starting off from job coach training and then also talking about SIQAF as well. Thanks, Lucy. So I've got a question for Kevin, if that's okay, and Amanda. Maybe Kevin first. I know that you've been on some of our training. Do you have any reflections of the training and maybe how it's informed your work as a job coach?
Yeah, sure. I think like the biggest things for me were sort of applying task analysis to various roles in placements that I've worked in, stripping back tasks that our interns are given to help them sort of reach a goal using a process. I also found that, like, standing back, so from the TSI training, I used to be a teaching assistant, and I was very much sort of hands-on, and I found from TSI, like standing back and observing interns doing tasks was such a difficult thing to do at first, but you could soon see the power of that, and then sort of learning from mistakes that they might make. Obviously, if it was something major, you might step in, but generally making a little mistake, and then, like we said before, can you do it a different way, and looking at those sort of aspects. So I thought that was quite empowering, the TSI training, and I would really sort of recommend it to anyone coming into this role, because I'm fairly new to the role. I've been doing it for about 18 months, so I found that was really, really helpful to start with.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kevin. Amanda, I don't know if you had any reflections as well of your training.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I think everything that Kev's just said, I can definitely resonate with all of that. The TSI was absolutely invaluable when it came to looking at our individual approaches and how we look at things. And also, again, I think it's really easy to take over and to give too many instructions. So it was really nice to have those opportunities to strip it back. But for me, I think a lot of the base training has been really important about looking at that vocational profiling, and that's been absolutely invaluable. So it was something that we already did as a college, but just having that additional training really gave me a really good mindset to be more intentional about allowing a person to have more opportunity to lead their own journey and have that person-centered approach. But within the job card, within the vocational profiling, it really did able to break down what that young person's aspirations were, what they were wanting, looking at communication preferences and their abilities. Yeah, so that really helped.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That's so useful. Thank you so much. Lucy, next slide, please. So we also have a question maybe to Kevin again first. I don't know if you have any examples in your 18 months of raising aspirations for our interns. Seems to be the theme today.
Yeah, sure. So one of my first interns last year was working at GXO, which is basically a logistics warehouse. Is a young man called Christopher, who basically wouldn't he wouldn't sort of, he was really struggling with new people. He never went out, wouldn't catch a bus by himself. Sort of grandparents would take him here, there, and everywhere. So it was, he found things very difficult, very, lack of confidence. But he was very intelligent, really bright young man. So we obviously went to GXO and started his work placement there. We gradually increased the amount of people that he sort of worked with and spoke to, and sort of meeting those new people. You just saw his confidence sort of rise. But the big thing was the processes that he was showed. He sort of picked up so quickly. The confidence, you could just see him. He believed in himself suddenly, and he could do a paid role, which he never thought that he could do that before. He never had that confidence, and like through school and through colleges that he'd been to before, he like the stories we'd heard earlier, his confidence had took a real battering. So for him to be succeeding, you could just see that, his face and how he was, his demeanor. The softer skills were the harder bit. Meeting people at break time, meeting, say, new groups of people. So we touched on, I think somebody touched on earlier, one of the things we did like at break time was he'd never played pool, and there was a pool table in the break area, and we got him to have a game of pool. He played with me first, but he was playing like with his mentors and other people, and it made a massive impact because suddenly he was interacting with people, and it just broke down a lot of barriers. So that was a major success. But we also played like little board games and things like that as well. So there's several little things that we did to help him. His mentors and managers at GXO were brilliant with him, very patient. Always welcome him, always came in to see him first thing in the morning. Obviously I'd break sort of various tasks down with task analysis, but they were fantastic at it, and just gave him huge confidence to succeed. And after sort of a while, we started in November previous year, sorry, and then by May, June time, he'd been offered a job, and he's obviously took it with both hands, and it was fantastic. And he's still there now. He's still working there 2-3 days a week. But also outside of that, I've heard recently that is meeting friends, going catching a bus, going into town, meeting friends, which would never have happened before all of this. So it's not just the paid employment side of things. It's a big life change for someone in that position, really. And it's great to be able to support someone through that and get that end goal, but see how many positive aspects there are around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin. It's so many small moments in the supported internship success. Thank you so much. Lucy, are you okay to move on to the next bit? We're just to highlight as well, just some research that the wonderful Lily done recently. It shows a clear upward trend that we know that supported internships do better quality wise and outcomes wise when they're working with a supported employment partner, but also when they have that trained staff. So putting that training into action on the supported employment program, we know that the overall quality is much better for those that have trained job coaches. Thanks, Lucy. Next slide. So we've got loads of feedback as well about being able to be more aware of the praise that we use, exactly like Kevin and Amanda talked about as well. Not stepping in too soon, again, taking those skills from a teaching assistant. I was a teaching assistant as well. I had to learn a lot on supported internships. Next slide, please, Lucy. It's also about, if you're new to employment support, you haven't done it previously, it's really useful. And again, we've got this example of when they've put that training right into action, working with someone who they found, used the word of hard to place, was difficult, struggled for a long time, and then they put it into action and they found someone a job quite quickly. Because they got to that untapped talent and they just unlocked it, and it was great after doing that training. Next slide, please, Lucy. So SIQAF, just to explain briefly, you can pop on the next ones, Lucy, please, and I've put animations on. The SIQAF is split into 6 areas. I'm not going to talk about them all in depth. I will pop in the chat the Excel spreadsheet so you can look at it, but it's 6 key areas that the peer review will look at. As Callum said, we do have a few more places, so I can put that in the chat as well if you wanted to book one. But it will highlight these 6 areas of your supported internship delivery and then pull out those recommendations. And we kind of think about, why is the supported internship is successful because of these 6 areas, and that's what we really delve into. Next slide, please, Lucy. So supported internship quality assurance framework. I'm going to move on to this bit, and I'm going to ask Louise now, because I know Louise has been brilliant for SIQAF. She's also joined as a peer reviewer, so is also supporting other sites in their SIQAF journey. Louise, do you have any reflections of your supported internship quality assurance framework?
Yeah, so we pride ourselves on quality here at West Knox College. I first started working within supported internships back in 2019, and at that time I didn't know a lot about supported internships, so I did what I could to sort of go out and meet other providers. So I was really pleased when the Internship Work sort of project came up. So for me, the supported internship quality assurance framework has been, a crucial tool to enable us to sort of reflect on our own practice using those 6 key areas, because there's so many elements to providing a good quality program within the college, and essentially I want every element of that framework. It's like, and I see it like every bit like a piece of a puzzle. So if you get every piece of that puzzle right, it's only gonna strive to get better outcomes for our young people, and it's proved to do so within hours. So we've had, as a college, we've had 2 SIQAF reviews. I've got 2 programs. I've got one pending in a few weeks' time, which I'm really looking forward to. so yeah, it's just been a really positive experience. The reviewers have come with expert knowledge and guidance and provided us with clear action plans and tips on how to improve moving forward. You know, and that's been a real supportive process, and it's not, you know, it's not been felt derogatory or so. And I think working within the sector, I think, you know, there may have been some negative perceptions around the SIQAF, but I think, you know, for me, it's assurance that we're doing the right thing, you know, and how if you ask any of my team, I'm always changing things every year because there's always improvements to be made. I think it drives them mad in some respects, but you know, if we can get better outcomes for our young people, that's what we strive for. So I do whatever we can to get there.
Thank you so much, Louise. And that's what it brings it back to, doesn't it? You know, that outcomes for our young people and improving it for them. So yeah, I've no doubt you're moving it forward for the interns. Next slide, please, Lucy. So yeah, I mean, you've already touched on this, Louise, but have you got any specific kind of examples of any of the changes that you've implemented? Because I know you've had 2 reviews, so maybe, you know, an example where you've made an improvement.
Yeah, so our first review was back in February 2024. So we actually scored 68% on that as a whole programme. Fast forward to December 2025, we achieved 98%. So embedding those, which, you know, a massive 30% increase in our delivery. So going through the SIQAF and going through all those points, you know, embedding all the training that we've had through BASE, through vocational profiling, through a job analysis. Just to give one example, so from our initial assessment, I think, and quite a lot of you on the call could probably resonate with this. So EHCPs aren't always quite up to date and sometimes don't always reflect aspirations, the right aspirations. So one of the takeaways from our first audit was around action planning. So particularly one young man that had, you know, for example, animal care as an aspiration on his EHCP, but actually we knew that we'd done the work to get to what job. So his job didn't match his aspirations in his EHCP, but we know as a team we'd done that work, but it's how we documented it and how we sort of tracked that that journey from that initial aspiration. Because actually I didn't like being in the cold, you know, he had sensory needs around you know, dirt and that sort of thing, so it wasn't the right thing. But strengthening our processes around vocational profiling and earlier transition onto programme really supported us to track that and put those clear action plans in place. Hence why, you know, and part of all those little bits that we've changed has increased our, you know, we were commended for our thorough vocational profiling within our SIQAFs and our job analysis as well. So yeah, that was one example. So we have very clear action plans now, which are embedded into our vocational profiles.
Thank you so much, Louise, and thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Amanda, for your time. Thank you so much. Lucy, next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I do have one more question, which I think I'm going to pop to Louise, if that's okay. Sorry. What are your hopes for supported internships in the future? You've got one coming up. You've got another one. More.
So for me, for supported internships, I know that there's pilots going on, but there's so many young people out there that would benefit from a supported internship programme. So to open up opportunities around that, easier access to work funding and easier processes, and I'm sure that we'll all agree with that. You know, more opportunities for employers and giving you know, and I know that there's lots of work going on around employer engagement, but there's still work to do around giving them the reassurance and the confidence that to support our young people on their journey through inclusive recruitment, you know, and just giving them that confidence to be able to have an open conversation to remove some of those barriers.
Thank you so much, Louise. I'm sure we're all singing from the same hymn sheet there as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please, Lucy. Thank you so much. Yeah, and just to share another example, you know, from a supported employment provider from Kaleidoscope. This is from Debbie, who just mentioned about, you know, having a different perspective with the SIQAF, was, you know, got to share ideas for improvement, and it was detailed, so they got to look at that evidence. You had verbal and written feedback, and it just supported that strategic planning in action, made us stronger, and it helped to develop programs further. So we know that it can have that impact. So that was from Debbie at Kaleidoscope. Thank you, Debbie. And then SIQAF, next bit, please. Yeah, just to say, any provider can download and use the tool. It's a free tool moving forward. We do still have some places left. It does support reflection and self-assessment, and obviously quality assurance. It's designed to be used annually. We have completed 150. We'll do as many as we can in March to do a few more, and you can book it. So I will pop that in the chat as well. Next slide, please, Lucy. I just have a couple of quotes from, you know, the wonderful team at BASE who have supported this right from the beginning. You know, Nerisse has said, you know, quality assurance isn't just an administrative process. You know, it really is the backbone of what we do at supported employment. If you get the job match wrong, it really doesn't work. We have to get this right. We regularly hold review practice, use evidence to guide improvement, and hold ourselves to consistently high standards. And we create programs that genuinely change outcomes for young people. You know, we're delighted that we've worked with Internships Work, and we've been able to embed quality within supported internships. And provide that high quality training. It's been great to see some of the impacts of that, but also to support with measuring the outcomes of delivery programs. And we really hope that that impact will continue to be felt throughout the improved supported internships programs that can deliver meaningful employment opportunities that our young people so deserve. Thanks, Lucy. And then our wonderful Laura has left a quote as well. Internship work stands out as one of the most the best, I think, professional achievements I am most proud of. Securing employment is crucial. So again, really thinking about employment in that successful supported internship for genuine inclusion. It's so gratifying to know that we've been part of this consortium and collaborating with the DFE to double the opportunities with SEND. You know, moving forward, we know there's still work to be done. We need to enhance the wider system. We need to ensure that quality becomes an integral part of the process. And we need to guarantee that job coaches who play such a vital role receive that proper funding. And we need to build on our success while addressing those gaps. And we, you know, for the future, we want poor employment outcomes for SEND to be a thing of the past, and fully funded, inclusive, supported internships as the standard. Thanks, Lucy. And then just to wrap up, just thank you to the whole community. You know, it doesn't happen in one moment. Like as Kevin mentioned, it's that kind of all those little moments that accumulate and come together to make this success. It's, you know, the job coaches who are helping them play pool, you know, doing all those small bits as well. I think there's just another little couple pop-ups, Lucy. Yeah, just to summarise, BASE have kind of supported, by the end of this, we will support 1900 job coaches to be trained in that supported employment techniques or training in systematic instructions. And by the end, we have 150 SIQAF. Could be a couple more if people get emailing, which we do have space for. So please do take us up on that offer, because we know we're nice, friendly people, I promise. And it will give you lots of consultancy support to deliver quality. So thank you so much to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you to your panel as well. Really great to hear from you. We're going to head to a break in a moment. For the break, we'd advise just staying logged in, just turn your cameras off, just to ensure any issues when joining back after the break. When we come back, we're going to be launching the video that we've created, which is highlighting the stories of 3 young people on supported internships. So we'll take a break now and we'll come back at 11:45. So I'll see you all in 10 minutes. We'll be starting back in 1 minute. Welcome back, everyone, after an insightful and inspiring first part of the conference. We're now going to be playing a short film that features the stories of 3 young people on supported internships. They were part of influencing how the film was created, and we also had young people a part of the team that were filming it with Fully Focused, who are filmmakers. We will now start the video.
This is my dream job, being a public speaker and like getting to see the change that I'm making in society. The thing I'm most proud of doing on the support internship so far, I would say it's getting my voice heard and understood. People seeing me and not the disability. During the first few months of the internship, I realized that I was capable of so much more than what people expected of me.
Well, the support internship really helped me because it helped me to like figure out what I wanted to do, that I really wanted to do, be in the catering and be in the cooking industry. I would like stop myself from doing things, always had that thought of I can't do this, I can't do that, and not actually try. I'm never someone that tries things. My sister, she said it a lot to me that I always doubt myself and say that I can't do this, I can't do that, without even me trying, realising that over time that you can actually do this.
Carla's a completely different person since she started his supported internship. She's confident, she's socialising more with people. Yes, you know, she still does need a lot of support and a lot of help and a lot of encouragement and, you know, things being repeated, and she writes things down. But it's just been incredible, and it's actually been life-changing.
I take meeting minutes for every monthly unit we have, helped create documents, set up meetings. I've also helped with spot checks, which is basically just ensuring that the grants that we give to different authorities have been spent correctly and been complied. I have just gained confidence in so many ways, and I pushed myself out there a lot more than I did before I started this placement.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's just a great reminder of why we should give young people a chance and include them in our workspaces. It gives them very valuable experience in sort of building up their confidence, in preparing them for work.
I've sent it over to the CYP team as well, because I think
Emma works with me the most, but the wider team is always so, you know, impressed with Emma's work. One of the running jokes is that Emma is constantly in demand, so the calendar is constantly full, and I have to fight sometimes. But that's just amazing, because you have these very experienced professionals who, you know, who've been doing this for 20 years plus, sort of asking to work with Emma. So I think that's brilliant.
I never thought I would be able to work, but looking back, I kind of realised that most of my presumptions were when I was younger and less capable of doing stuff for myself, but now I've kind of like gone past the teenage phase and everything else. I'm kind of like hopeful for my future. We do want to work, but it's just we don't know how, and we need a bit more support than others. It's very important for me to want to involve my career in like inclusion and diversity in some way, because I felt like there was like a lack of it when I was growing up. People who are a bit like me when I was younger maybe felt a bit misrepresented or just not understood, and just like I just want to make like the world like a better place for them and like a better society.
Thanks, Lucy. A really powerful video, and a big thank you to Emma, Rebecca and Carla for sharing their stories. I think, you know, for myself working with Emma and Rebecca, it's been great seeing their growth in their roles, and quite emotional watching the video as well, and kind of hearing from themselves in their words the experience they've had of sport internships. But thank you again for sharing your stories. Extremely powerful. The next on the agenda, we're going to hear from Dr. Wykeham Bosworth-Nightingale, Associate Lecturer in Disability and Employment at the University of Derby.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And hearing some of those stories just builds upon this PowerPoint that I'm very passionate about. Hearing what Kevin was talking about, one of his quotes that I just wanted to touch upon, it says, it's not just about paid employment, but it's the big life changes. And Kieran Jones, when he was talking about the skills, about that was happening to him. So we're going to talk about beyond the numbers, redefining supported internship success through social inclusion. So we're here to talk today about supported internships. And if you've worked in this space, you already know the question we get asked most often. Did they get a job? That's the numbers that matters, right? And that's what we report to funders. That's what we go on our outcome measures. But I want to pose just a slightly different question. What if we've not been measuring the full impact of these programs? So let me tell you one thing that we're missing. 1 in 3 learning disabled adults in this country report feeling lonely, often or always. Not occasionally, often or always. Think about that for a moment. These are young people whose social networks are often limited to family members and paid support staff. And when they leave education, that transition cliff edge, we all know, those connections drop off even more dramatically. The impacts: mental health, well-being, quality of life. And this data is from Sense, MenCap, ONS, like there's lots of data out here. This isn't a small problem tucked away in a corner. It's a loneliness epidemic. So next slide, please, Lucy. So largely, we have one metric, paid employment within 12 months. And don't get me wrong, employment matters. It matters absolutely. It matters enormously. The economic benefits of supported internships are real and important. But look at what we're not capturing enough. The social relationships that form, the sense of belonging someone develops, the identity as a valued team member, the confidence and agency they gain, and the preparation for adulthood life that goes beyond the workplace. And all of this is happening, all of this is changing lives, and a little of it shows up in our success measures. So next slide, please, Lucy. So when I was undertaking my PhD, I spent 9 months walking alongside some learning disabled young people in a supported internship program. Every day, Monday till Friday, 9 till 4, alongside them, walking with them, not observing them, not studying them from a distance, but participatory ethnography, walking interviews, co-analysis throughout, that nothing about us without us wasn't just a principle, it was the methodology. And what they taught me changed everything I thought I knew about what makes supported internship works. Next slide, please, Lucy. So, first of all, social inclusion. And if this is a kind of definition that's thrown around in policy, legislation, and practice. And I really want to signpost to an academic, and it's publicly available, called Simplicon, and they produced a fantastic detailed article in 2015. And you'll do a bit of a type into Google, and I'm sure Lucy can put it in the chat. And it's a really good way to conceptualize what social inclusion is. And it focuses on the breadth and the depth of two components for a young person in terms of interpersonal relationships and their participation. So the breadth, it kind of is about the categories where inclusion occurs. So for us, education and employment are the really two important domains, but also in the community life, leisure, hobbies, and then the depth is about how deep was their kind of participation in that. And then the other kind of element is in terms of their relationships. And this is a key part that we want to look at in terms of loneliness and social inclusion. And that is in terms of how broad and deep do these young people interact with the breadth of people beyond learning disabled young people. So that's a really good framework for us to look at in terms of how can we define social inclusion. Next slide, please, Lucy. And what was very important and emerged from the research is what we call this PPCT-EP framework. What a long name that is. But what it is a social ecological model which allows us as researchers, practitioners, teachers to look at the young person and all of the different levels with which they interact with to understand what is mediating, positively or negatively, the young person's social inclusion. And the crucial part here is those employment pathways. So social inclusion is not just an outcome of employment, it's a pathway to employment and back again. So they're mutually reinforcing. The young people in the research, they didn't get jobs and then make friends. They made connections, felt belonging, developed identity, and that sustained their employment. And that's a key part, the sustained employment. Next slide, please, Lucy. So within the microsystem that a young person interacts with, so these daily interactions, let's make this concrete, because this is a real key area that positively mediates social inclusion, and that's where it happens. And some of those stories that Kieran was talking about and Kevin was observing from his learners was really powerful. Being greeted by their name, being included in the tea rounds, being invited to lunch and social activities in and outside of the supported internship, those co-worker relationships. Then there's the job coach mediation, facilitating those initial introductions, scaffolding early conversations, and then crucially, stepping back, that faded support to let the natural connections form. And peer connections with others. And we theorise this as bridging and bonding relationships, having relationships with people without a learning disability or a similar identity is really key for broadening social inclusion. That shared experience, it creates solidarity, friendships, and mutual support that goes way beyond the programme. These aren't nice to haves, these are mechanisms through which belonging really happens. Next slide, please, Lucy. But for important for me, that came from the research in the PhD, and you'll be able to read the massive document. I think it's about 400 pages. But what came from it is some of the lovely, rich quotes from the lived experiences of young people. And I've just put a few on screen to elicit their kind of lived experiences. So let's listen to what some of these young people told me. It's not just about the job. It's about having people who know your name, who say hello. I feel like I belong here, like I'm part of the team, not visiting. Some of these young people, it was a supported internship at the hospital, they said, I've had more birthdays and Christmases here as a former patient, and I want to give back. What a powerful story that was. I want to give back in an institution that I was formerly had quite poor experiences of. Before this, I only really talked to my mum and my support worker. Now I've got friends. The job coach, they helped me at first, but now people just want to talk to me normally. That's what I wanted. Normal. That's the word that stayed with me. People just talk to me normally. That's what success sounds like when you ask these young people, instead of looking at the spreadsheets, which I'm also bad for because we love that kind of stuff. Next slide, please, Lucy. So fostering preparation for adulthood. And here's why this matters beyond the individual stories. Preparation for adulthood has 4 pillars: employment, independent living, community participation, health. And obviously we've become laser focused on that first pillar. But what this research has shown and are listed is that social inclusion during these supported internships, they build the foundations for all 4. Employment, sustained by working relationships, not just skills. Independent or supported living through those networks that extend beyond paid support. Community participation through belonging in multiple contexts. And Kevin was speaking about some of his young people catching the bus. What a fantastic catalyst for social inclusion to access different hobbies. Health, social connections, protect mental well-being. Supported internships, they're not just about getting a job, they're a critical window for building those social foundations that sustain all 4 of those PFA outcomes. That's transformative. That's what changes a life trajectory. Lucy, next slide, please. So I want to pose a few kind of questions, really, and I think it's important that we need to frame this narrative in terms of how we identify and measure success for all of our young people, for those who transition to employment and those who don't transition to employment. So are they connected beyond those binary outcomes to those multi-dimensional outcomes, from a 12-month snapshot to longitudinal trajectories? Are we following our young people post-employment? What are they getting up to post-supported internship? From addressing those individual deficits, what can we do to remove those environmental barriers? How can we embrace that social model of disability to really ensure that they succeed? From an economic productivity lens to a well-being and belonging lens. This isn't about lowering standards, it's about raising our ambition for what supported internships can achieve. Next slide, please, Lucy. So this is your call to action. And here's what I'm asking you to take away. 1, social ecological thinking reveals how it is mediated across every level, from the intern, from their interpersonal relationships, the organisations that they interact in, the communities and their hobbies, to the social and political systems. We need to pay attention to it all beyond just the supported internship. 2, practitioners, job coaches, employment specialists. You can intentionally foster social connections alongside the job skills these young people get. Map the social opportunities, scaffold them, fade away, champion those natural support, track what really matters. 3, program designers, commissioners, evaluators. We can design and deliver programs that truly measures what matters most to these young people. Embed social measures, embed those social inclusion opportunities. Please fund those relationship building times and track longitudinally. Social inclusion, it's not a nice to have. It's not a soft outcome we add on if we have time. It's fundamental to what supported internships make for transformative action. Beyond the numbers, there are young people finding their place in the world, finding their people, finding their voice. Please, let's start measuring that. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A really insightful presentation and leaving us with a lot of thinking around how we manage success. So thank you again for kind of highlighting some of those areas we're aware of, but sometimes they'll be missed when reporting and looking at the numbers as the sort of main focus at times. Okay, we've got another video up next, short film from young people in the Northwest around the power of supported internships.
Why is it that only 5% of people with disabilities are employed?
For many disabled adults, finding meaningful work is still an uphill battle. Low employment rates mean missed opportunities, untapped talent, and unnecessary barriers. Supported internships provide structured coaching, real workplace experience, and mentors who understand different learning styles.
You don't have to feel worried about not fitting in.
Through time I've progressed and I've been able to find more opportunities to myself, and I've learned lots of different skills, like understanding how networking works and stuff like that.
My favourite moment so far is going on the trips I like, but also the self-confidence I have and meeting new people.
Every success story shows what's possible when inclusion isn't just talked about, it's put into action.
I have been at Blackpool Transport for about three and a half years, and I have managed to get a job out of it, and I am really happy with the job.
When I started, it was alright. Some of my duties was working with people with disabilities and additional needs.
These internships don't just lead to experience, many lead to long-term employment.
It's life-changing. I know that sounds a bit cliche, but it is life-changing.
Together, we can open doors and build futures.
The difference in him as a person and the things that he's realised he can do now and what he's capable of is fantastic.
Thanks. Another video sort of outlining the positives around supported interns. Both of the videos will be available, and we'll be sharing links for those
To find out more about supported internships,
spoke to
visit
early.
your Aries Send local offer website.
So as I was saying, the links to videos will be shared, so you have access to them to use them as you need to. We're drawing towards the end now of the conference. We're going to hear now from Bill Love, who is director at NDTi and has been chair of the Internships Work Board throughout the programme.
Kieran, thank you. And I really hope that my internet connection lasts, as it's cut off 3 times this morning. So let's go. As Kieran said, my name's Bill Love, and I've had the pleasure of supporting the consortium board during the programme. My job today is to briefly offer some thanks and to reflect a little bit on the future. So our thanks. Let's start with our thanks to the Minister and their team, and particularly to Rachel and Callum, who've worked with us so closely and in partnership throughout the whole programme. I'd like to thank our consortium partners, DFN Project Search and the British Association of Supported Employment. You've had the opportunity to hear from Alice and Beth today. Thank you to the speakers today who've inspired and challenged us. I hope you realise, as the speakers today, that you held 350 people in the palm of your hands. And I really hope you've had an opportunity to see the comments and reactions to your presentations in the chat today. What you said has been extraordinarily powerful. Thank you to the young people who've done supported internships. As Callan said in the first presentation this morning, internship works because young people do. And Emma, I think you spoke for thousands of people in the video when you said, we want to work. So thank you, especially to the young people who've undertaken supported internships. Our thanks to the local authorities, to the providers, to the young people and to the families who've offered local drive and leadership across the last 4 years. And thank you to all those people who've recorded their stories and spoken at events. Your individual stories have been so extraordinarily powerful. So what's next? As has been said, Internship Works comes to an end at the end of March. But the work can't come to an end. Supported internships have proven to be life-changing for young people. And for local authorities, they've proven to be effective in delivering radical outcomes and delivering a value for money way of supporting young people to enter the employment market. So we're encouraging all local authorities and everyone who's been involved in supported internships to keep up with the good work. The resources and the tools on the one-stop shop will stay on the NDTi website. Please use them. As a consortium of NDTi, of BASE and of DFN Project Search, our commitment's ongoing. We remain fully determined to support the growth and quality of supported internships. The support you've received through this fully funded offer will continue to be available from us on an at-cost basis. NDTi will continue to provide bespoke consultancy and tailored support to local authorities to strengthen their supported internship strengthen their supported internship pathways. You can find out more information about our offer through the link in the chat that should be appearing about now. BASE will carry on delivering high quality job coach training and consultancy. The SIQAF will remain available as a free tool that organisations can use to benchmark their provision. And DFN Project Search will continue championing employer engagement and, as always, continue their work delivering supported internship directly. Supported internships must be a priority as a pathway to supported, sustainable and realistic employment. As an organisation who've had supported interns, we know the richness that internships bring to our organisation, and it's been really powerful today to hear from employers as well who've directly linked the growth of their business to the contributions that supported internship makes. The pilot, which is trailing supported internships for young people without EHC plans, has also been a resounding success, and a little bit more on that later. This is our first of a series of sessions today. We've sessions on the pilot, so please come along if you want to learn more and hear directly from local authorities who are delivering the pilot. We also have a session this evening at 6 o'clock for parents and carers. Please join us and share a link to that session with any parents and carers you think might benefit. We will, of course, be sharing all slides, all links and recordings over the next few weeks. On behalf of NDTi, I want to thank our amazing consortium partners and the national and regional teams who've driven forward the Internship Works programme. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope that we see you throughout the rest of the day. I think we're letting you go a few minutes early, so goodbye, enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you in the sessions this afternoon.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone. Just to say, there is a feedback form. A link will go in the chat, and we'll also be sharing it with you after. But again, thank you all for attending today, and hope to see some of you all at the sessions later on.